So hi, it's a pleasure to come back to Health Library again after a gap of 2 years. It's of course I have been doing on the, you must have seen my short videos and I have been doing those videos, but somehow there is a feel to this place which feels very nice when you are here and you are able to speak in front of some of the members here. So I am Dr.Sanjyot Pethe. As I always introduce myself as, I am not a doctor, not a medical doctor, but I am a PhD in organizational behavior. I am also a somatic experiencing practitioner, and I am a life coach. And well, I like to read, I like to see the relevance between how we live our life and how it impacts our health, and therefore so many different topics. So this topic, I have of course last 2 years all of us have been grappling with life and death, and death is not a subject anymore that nobody talks about. So I thought, why not take this up, and why not let's have some conversations, let's start some conversations around these. So when I say life and death, I actually mean existential issues. And what are existential issues? So existential issues are anything that exists because we exist. So for example, all living beings take birth and therefore will die. And therefore death is an existential issue. It is there. It is there, whether you talk about it, you acknowledge it, you don't acknowledge it, it's there. We are going to die one day. Whether we'll die at 100 or we'll die at 60 or we'll die at 120, we don't know. But we will die. All of us will. Similarly, all of us will experience isolation from time to time. At some level we are all together, at some level we are all alone. Like all pain, all illnesses, all troubles, you can share, you can tell people I have this pain, I have this illness, I have this trouble, but you have to bear it. We are isolated in some ways. Another existential issue is about meaninglessness, which means what? That everything that we do, we don't always, or everything that happens to us does not always have a meaning. We have to give it a meaning. We have to give our lives a meaning. It is not there. So meaninglessness is another existential reality. And freedom or groundlessness is another existential reality. I don't know how much time I'll be able to spend on each, but I would like to introduce all four of the existential issues. Now the significant thing about these existential issues are that they exist. And if we embrace them, if we acknowledge them, then they actually help us to become healthier and live a better life compared to if we don't acknowledge them. Because when we don't acknowledge them, what we start doing is, we start developing defenses against it. When we develop defense, then our body reacts in a particular way and certain illnesses, certain discomforts or certain psychological malfunctions happen. That is what defenses do. And what that means, I'll explain in a while. So let's begin with talking about death or fear of death. And what does it do to you? So I have seen some social media arguments when somebody dies, especially some celebrity dies. Like for very recently, this Australian cricket player, Shane, he passed away. Now, somebody said that he was on some liquid diet and then he had a heart attack. So there was this whole page description of why he should not have been on liquid diet, that's why he died. Okay, and my argument is, no matter how healthily you live, you are going to die. You may, of course, you may improve the quality of life. So I'm not talking about being fatalistic. I'm not saying that don't take care of health, anyway we are going to die. Or I'm not saying don't take care of yourself, anyway we are going to die. I'm not saying that. I'm not coming from a fatalistic standpoint. I'm coming from a place where, yes, death will happen, no matter what I do. Can I accept that and live my life fully? Because I don't know what is going to happen tomorrow. Can I fully engage? Can I fully engage with people I meet? Can I fully engage with every experience that I work with? That is what I mean by listening to or embracing any kind of existential issue. But right now, since we are talking about death, so what is death? Death is actually very, very primal. Everything in this universe dies. Our cells are dying every day, even though we are living for so many years. There are cells which are gone away. So many of our cells have been gone away all these years. And everything that is born will die someday. There will be a time, maybe thousands of years later, but sun is also going. Our sun will also die. The sun will die, moon will die, stars will die. They also die. So it is primal. It is there, and especially in living beings, it's definitely finite. It's definitely finite. And what happens is, I'm also, of course, I'm referring to the biological death. And biological death is very concrete. Once I go away, whether you believe in, if you believe in rebirth, okay, I will be born, but I will be born as somebody else. If you don't believe in rebirth, either way, this body is going. This body will go. That's biological. That is very clear. The problem is that the psychological associated with this is very overlapping, and there is no clear-cut boundary to that. Right? And as a result of that, there is an unconscious anxiety that we all carry. At some level, this unconscious anxiety is important. That is what makes us take care of ourselves. That is what makes us pay attention, because there is anxiety. But when this anxiety becomes overdone, that is where our problems are. That is where our defenses are. So in Yoga Sutra, it is also mentioned of something called as Abhinivesha, which is again fear of death. And it is talking about the primal fear of I am going to die someday. But it is also talking about the fear of death of our identities, our ways of working. We become comfortable with one particular way of working. We don't want to let it go. Or we become comfortable. Like I have had this recent experience that there were years when I would say, I will never give up tea. I can't give up tea, and I cannot have tea with milk. Without milk. I can never have tea without milk. Today I don't have tea. Because when medical conditions required me to give up dairy, I gave up dairy. Right? So that anxiety is important. If I didn't have the anxiety, I would have said, no, I am going to do whatever. But that also took time to switch over. Because that identity, that Abhinivesha, that I am somebody, I am a tea drinker, I am this, I am that, I have been a senior level professional in an organization, I have been this, I have been that. But when that identity goes away, what happens to me? I don't want to so easily let go. That also is again a fear of death. At some level, it is like, oh, what I knew I could hang on to or I anchor myself in, I can't do. So therefore, fear of death is real. There is nothing wrong about engaging in fear of death. I am not, again I am repeating myself, that I am not saying that it means that I don't care or it means that I only think about it, then I will not be able to move, I will not be able to do anything, I just keep thinking about it. But can I embrace it? Can I realize it and recognize it? But why do we have fear of death in the first place? So there was a study done with a few hundred people, and they were asked, why do you fear death? So some of the initial responses were, other people will grieve, other people will miss us, other people are dependent on us, so other people, who will take care of them? It's like, okay, without me, how will the world go on? But also, I will miss out on certain experiences. I will not be able to see my child get married, or I will not be able to see my child graduate, or I will not be able to have certain experiences that I have wanting to happen. So those fears also came up in this study. So there were fears of what will happen to other people, but there were also fears of what will happen to me. There were also fears about what will happen to my body, and fears about what if there is afterlife? Is there an afterlife? Will I be in heaven or I will be in hell? Or what will the afterlife be? What will I be? What will be my next birth? Exactly. I mean, what? So in those kind of fears people identify. And if really as an exercise, you might also want to do about what makes you afraid of it. Once you begin to acknowledge, you will realize that the grip that it has on you will begin to release. A lot of our stress actually comes from fear of it. In fact, I can come back to that. But in fact, a study was done with about 400 cancer patients. And what shifted after that diagnosis came through? What happened was, when they became very sure that they are going to die, okay, they are not going to be saved, or the treatment is going to be so painful that, one is terminal and the treatment itself will be painful and they won't survive. In fact, they actually rearranged their lives. Their priorities changed. They had a sense of liberation. Okay? An enhanced sense of living in the immediate presence, because future was certain, is going, past is anyway no longer relevant. A vivid appreciation of all elemental facts of life, everything about it. Right now, what I have, what can I enjoy right now in this state. Deeper communication and fewer interpersonal fears. No fear of humiliation or what will the other person think and what if this happens and what if that happens. A terminal illness pushed people to acknowledge that okay, death is certain, and that didn't destroy their life. That actually enhanced their life. So why wait for cancer to happen? Or anything like that to happen? So, but how does it play out? And there are many ways in which fear of death plays out, but I have decided to focus on two major things that happen. One is, either we become very sure of our own specialty. Everybody is going to die, I am not going to die. Nothing will happen to me. Nothing, I am beyond all this. One belief that comes up. The other belief comes up is, I need somebody all the time. I need to be with someone all the time. Both of these are, at one level, are good behaviors, because I need to be independent and I also need to be collaborative. But when they come in as a defense, then they are very, very detrimental to us. So for example, compulsive heroism. Even where it is not required, people want to take extra risk, extra unnecessary risks, and to show that how much heroic they are. All the superwoman, superman syndrome, where people are overdoing things as if the world can't go on without them, and they are so special. And nothing will happen to them no matter how much they touch. And I have examples with my clients where they want to overdo things, even when it is not required. So I can understand a doctor in a pandemic spending 18 hours a day because it is his job and it is required, it's needed. So sure, I can understand that. But how does somebody whose job is not so life and death job, why does that person go so overboard to do something? In pandemic also, I have had a couple of clients who had marital discord because the husband decided still to go to work or help someone outside. Where it was not really required, it was not his role, or it was not his, so there were questions about what is the need. So that is what is the compulsive heroism, workaholism. I have known a person who they were said back-to-back meetings, so in between going to the toilet would waste time, right? You won't be able to. So this woman used to hold on to it. And then later on, kidney stones developed and all kind of things happened. For what? Instead, she could have simply told, can you wait? I'll go for 2 minutes and come back. And that could have been happened. Narcissism, too much insistence on looking after yourself, a bit too much. Excessive attention to oneself. Now, why am I including these defenses as something relevant to health? Think about it. Workaholism will not allow you to become, to take rest, to take care of yourself. Heroism will also do the same, will not allow that. Narcissism will not allow you to engage with other people. We also need that. We also need relationships. We also, this talk I could have done from home.
Yeah.
I could have recorded. But we also need to meet people, see different spaces. If you are so narcissistic that you are only thinking about yourself, at some level, it will impact your interpersonal relationships. And aggression and control. All the control. Now, again, let's not do the reverse. Every aggression and control doesn't come from fear of death. But fear of death definitely pushes that, because then you want to take charge and make sure that nothing will happen to you. So you are so focused on nothing will happen to you that you are not seeing that how unnecessary that control is, how unnecessary that healing is. So, and these people are very field independent. So people who believe that I am special, in the sense that whatever is happening around, they are not tuned to it. They don't care. Whatever may be happening, I'll do what suits me, which at some level is good for your independence, is not very good for your overall well-being. So not listening to the doctors, for example. Okay, and I'm not talking about having an opinion. For example, I may have an opinion for certain illnesses. I will not go to an allopathy. I will go to an Ayurveda. That's fine. But even when I do that, my allopathy knows I'm doing that. So that tomorrow if something goes wrong and he has to step in, he's fully aware. He's not being taken for granted. He's not being, used as a standby. He knows. So I can choose. So I'm not talking about that. That level of field independence and interpersonal control is okay, because I'm listening to my body, I'm listening to how I think, and I'm following that. But when it becomes excessive, where people waste too much time in doing certain things and then they blame the doctors, or they don't take care of themselves and then they blame the doctors, or you put on weight, you're not paying attention, and then you suddenly want to go on a fat diet, and that impacts your health. So all these things have some kind of impact on your health. The other belief is being the belief in an ultimate rescuer. Okay. Again, so I personally I am a theist. I believe in God. Okay. But when people start believing in God to an extent where they are not taking any responsibility for themselves, is where it becomes a problem. Because God doesn't come and rescue you like that. Okay, for whoever believes. Whoever doesn't believe, I am not talking about that. But even then, people who don't believe in God will have a belief in some kind of an ultimate rescuer. Somebody, I know a doctor, he will definitely heal me. Yes, he will try, but it's not necessary that he will or she will. So they are very embedded. They won't do work without somebody else. Unless this person comes, I will not go for a movie. Unless this person comes, or unless this person says something, I will not do that. Or even if a doctor has told me a particular treatment, I agree with the treatment, but unless this person approves of it, I will not do that. Okay, that is being very embedded. Or even people have gone to the extent of they know that something is harmful for them in diet, but just because the friends are saying, "Arey, din se kuch nahi hota hai," no problem, this. They are so embedded. They so badly want this ultimate rescuer to be available. Is that they can't function. And in case of fatal illnesses, when they encounter a fatal illness, like cancer, like something else, they lose complete confidence because they haven't built any resourcefulness in themselves. They are embedded with somebody else. If that somebody else cannot help, it becomes a completely hopeless situation. Because you believed in a rescuer, you thought, maybe there is God, I will never get cancer, I will never get this, I will never get that, but you got. And now you have no resource because there is nobody to rescue you and you haven't built your own capacity. And which leads to depression. And of course, these people have a lot of trouble in interpersonal relationships because see, we are all interdependent, we all help each other, we all need help, we all need to work together. But when one person becomes too dependent on the other, either the other person gets depressed and completely used up, or gets angry because that person's freedom is also getting curbed. So when that happens, then it becomes another kind of a problem. So when you believe in ultimate rescuer, you are not taking responsibility for your own self. And when you are not doing that, what you are doing is you are putting yourself and everybody around you in danger. You will have an external locus of control. You will always think that it is somebody from the outside who will help you. And you will be very field dependent. So the way people will behave will have an impact on you. So somebody you look up to and go for consolation, that person is in a bad mood on one day, your life gets messed up because you're so dependent on that person or that field. There are so many people when the pandemic, the first lockdown, the very first lockdown 2 years ago when it happened, around this time, 2 years back, there were so many people who lost confidence on how to deal with it, right? Even if they were not ill, even if there was nothing happening within their immediate circle, they became very unsure of themselves. Why? Because they were field dependent. So everywhere, people are falling ill, something is happening, resources are less, there is no vaccination, there is no medication. People became extremely stressed because of that. Yeah. You said
no hospital beds.
No hospital beds and this and that. Whereas people who said, okay, we'll manage, we will do something, they got down to do something. They got down to be able to. That is where field independence would have been useful. But their field independence also showed us their ugly faces. The people not wearing masks, not taking care of themselves, not making sure that, they are paying attention to the symptoms. So both sides will impact. And in fact, a lot of our stress actually comes from these two things. And the fear of death, so somebody who is going through this, if you ask that person, do you fear death? Person is likely to deny. Likely to say, no, I'm not afraid of death. Because it's very unconscious. So you have to look at these patterns and work and break these patterns. So that the more you are sure that, okay, one day I'm going to die, today I am alive. Let me do whatever I can. Instead of worrying about I'm going to die or completely ignoring that fact and spending my time and energy in trying to control something that is not controllable. Time is not controllable. Certain things happening is not controllable. Traffic is not controllable. So all of these things, instead of wasting our time and energy, we could be more focused on living our life today in the present moment. What is it? So what are the things that we can do? One, can we start acknowledging that everything changes and things fade away? And that's alright. Can I enjoy it while it lasts? While other people are there? Can I, instead of worrying about, 10 years later this person is so old, maybe 2 years later he'll die, can I sit with this person today and enjoy the company? I don't know what will happen, 10 years, 20 years, I don't know. Can I live in the present moment as far as possible, as much as possible? Then do whatever I can. Whatever you can, do it. And don't worry too much about what you cannot do, what is not possible. When you aggressively control, please ask yourself how important it is. Is it really required? Do you really have to get something at particular time only? Do you have to, how much stress you are creating by saying it has to happen now? Kind of. What are you afraid of letting go and why? And why are you hanging on to something so much? Why are you not asked to go? There is a concept of Ishvara Pranidhana in Yoga Sutras, which talks about beyond a certain, and I think it's there in other this also, and if you don't believe in God, that's okay. If you believe in universe, you believe in a force, that is, whatever is not done or whatever you can't control, just hand it over to that higher power. saying I can't do this is not this is within my control. I'll put all my power in it and I will do it. Beyond this, nothing. It's not in my control. For example, I may be taking a treatment which may be taking months. That's what is under my control. I'll follow the treatment, I'll do my exercise, I'll do my breathing, everything. And beyond that, it's not under my control. I can't predict whether I'll heal in a month or 2 months or 4 months. So I hand it over I believe in God, so I hand it over to God. If you don't believe in God, something I am. So there is no rule that you have to believe in God. And how are you being stopped from living a full life, waiting for a later moment? Can you do it now? Can you be? In fact, in Indian mythology, there are many stories of these asuras. And some of these asuras are very brilliant, they are very knowledgeable, and they actually know a lot of things, and but they do a tapasya for immortality. And what happens is the God knows you can't make them immortal. So then they cook up some ways,
this happens.
Like in Hiranyakashyap's case, I should not be inside, outside, it should not be day, it should not be night. Even then the God then finds a way to do it in those conditions. So death is inevitable. Instead of that, that is why they are called asuras in mythology. Instead of focusing on their knowledge and their strengths and what they could have gained, they focused on what they could not have gained. So that's why they are asuras, because they are not following what is the rules of life or rules of nature. So these are some of the things that you can do. I want to talk about freedom now. Freedom and fear of freedom. Usually this topic people feel a bit shocked because they say, why will I be afraid of freedom? So the question that I have for them is that what will freedom mean? Suppose we are all free to do whatever we want to do. Living together will become extremely difficult. Because all of us are free, right? To think and do whatever we want. Freedom will also mean that anything I do, I will have to take full responsibility for it because I am free. Nobody has told me not to do it, or nobody is stopping me, or nobody is criticizing me for it, so I am free. Actually, we are. Within the life circumstances, we are actually free and we are afraid of that freedom. That is why we have so many societies and social norms and social this and religions togetherness and all that. Why is it there? Because we are afraid of that freedom. That is what makes us go, and even if we don't agree, go and associate closely with certain groups. Or even if we don't like it, we go along with it. Why? Because we are afraid of that freedom. Because that freedom will come with a consequence. It may even come with death. It can have any consequence. So we are afraid of that freedom, and because we are afraid of the freedom. So there are certain defensiveness that happens. So it is actually groundlessness. It's fear of groundlessness. Because freedom means I will have no ground. There will not be a set way or set expectation that will have. Like I'll give you a very simple example. Having a car and a driver also means, or being dependent on it more than having dependent on it, also means that I can't just get up and decide to go anywhere. I will have to do that, and I'll have to keep in mind about the driver, I will have to keep in mind the petrol prices, I will have to keep in mind where I have to go and how I have to go and things like that. And it takes away my freedom. But it gives me so much comfort that I don't look at it as taking away my freedom, because it gives me a ground. Similarly, in Yoga Sutras there is this mention of how certain patterns in us, certain emotions, certain patterns, certain ways of behavior, actually they call it Ashraya Alambana. Ashraya means home. Alambana means ground. It almost becomes like this is the home from where I will operate. Even if it is dysfunctional. And it is I'm so used to it, we are so used to that aspect, that we continue that behavior and later on realize how dysfunctional it was. I want to, there is this very sad story of a neighbor of mine. He believed in walking, and he believed in walking a lot. So he would rarely use autos or this. And what 5, 6, 7 kilometers, whether it is summer, whether it is winter, whether it is rainy season, he would walk. Coming back from office, he would walk. Even if the bus is coming right up to the doorstep, he will get down 5 kilometers before it. Why? Heart health. He died of heart attack. So much pressure of everyday walking on the heart, that heart couldn't take it. And he died of heart attack. What is that? That is being overly, not having so stuck to the ground and not looking at what is happening. And you have the freedom to change your ground. You have the freedom to change your mind. You have the freedom to, but not accepting that freedom, because if I'm not consistent, then what will happen? So it's that. And responsibility actually means authorship. Now, a lot of time people mix it up. Like, for example, we are also saying that it's creating your own self, destiny, even suffering. You are author of that. Okay. Now, what happens is people mix up responsibility with blame. Okay. So, for example, suppose tomorrow I am diagnosed with something, some fatal illness. Taking responsibility means now this has happened. Now I have to take care of it. I have to see what do I want to do. How is it going to impact me? How is it going to impact people dependent on me? How is it going to impact the world around me? That is my responsibility. I am not blaming myself for getting cancer. I am not saying I am a bad person, therefore I got cancer, or any fatal illness. So don't mix responsibility with blame, but taking responsibility is extremely important for dealing with this feeling of groundlessness. Once you are able to take responsibility, you will also be able to change your mind, because you will say, okay, till yesterday I was like this, today I am not like this. Today, for this particular purpose, I have decided to change something. For this particular reason, I have decided to change the way I behave, or to change the way I talk, or change the things I do. For example, I have for a longest time believed that I have to get up early in the morning. Getting up early in the morning is always a good habit according to me. But tomorrow, if the situation such demands, can I change it without being adamant about it, or without making it morally superior, without making myself morally superior? Saying if I get up in the morning and you don't, then I am better. So that is the fear of groundlessness, and there are certain defenses. So compulsivity, I have decided to do it. There are these dialogues, right? मैं एक बार वादा कर देता हूँ तो मैं अपनी भी नहीं सुनता, kind of. So this is compulsivity. It is like saying that if you are changing your mind, your fikr. No, not necessarily. You may be changing your mind because you have received new data, which is telling you that now you have to change. Maybe something for me was working very well in my 30s, may not work in my 50s, and I am willing to change because I am growing old. And I'm not calling myself old, but I am growing old, that's the truth. So, can I change when that happens? Then blaming, a lot of blaming happens when you don't take responsibility. You get into this habit of blaming everybody or everything. You know, the life, and for using that word, life sucks, kind of, because you are not taking responsibility for your own self. Then there is a denial of responsibility. मैं क्या कर सकता हूँ? I was victim of circumstances. I didn't get this. I didn't get that. Kind of. Avoidance of autonomous behaviors which you can do it, but you are not doing it. You are independent enough to do it, but you cannot do it. You don't want to do it because you are somewhere afraid that once I start doing it, then the other person will not do it for me. So I have to continue doing it, and that's why so many of these things, such things like cooking, which are very gender, that woman cooks and the man doesn't cook, and then the woman dies or the woman falls ill. A lot of men suffer. And same is the other way around. Women not going out, not doing things for themselves, not taking care of their finances, and when the man dies, all the hell breaks loose. So again, yes, we live together, we can divide responsibilities, but not taking initiative and looking at only being dependent and not doing autonomous behaviors are also detrimental. people. So sometimes it's important that once in a while you do things on your own and let the other person stay responsible for that. But you also do it as an experience so that you are more. And there is this decision pathology. In a simple term, inability to make quick decisions. You know, you have to order something, you spend half an hour in ordering. Okay, you want to buy something, you spend a lot of time. You want to invest somewhere, you're doing. You want to take up a new job, you're talking to 20 people. You know, now what's wrong in that? There's nothing wrong as such in that, except that when it paralyzes you, and you're not taking decision because you're afraid of the consequences. You don't want to go wrong, but you can go wrong, and unless you go wrong, you wouldn't realize it really. So there are some places where you should be okay going wrong, and be okay changing your mind later and saying, okay, I was wrong, I'm doing that. In fact, not going wrong is such a high pressure, a perfectionist syndrome in so many people that I meet. They don't want to go wrong. Now I have a client who wants to go and work somewhere else, but she's afraid that if something happens to her mother. Now I said, if something has to happen to her mother, it will happen. And when she's taking care, you take care. No, you take care of things. You make things available for her. Her greatest fear is she goes and her mother, something happens to her mother, it will be her fault. And I'm saying it will not be your fault. But these are logical things, right? What is happening in your mind, you have to think through. These are logical arguments, but what is happening at an emotional level, you have to really think through and see what is happening to you. What are you doing what are you afraid of as a result of your decision? Go wrong, it's alright. Anybody who believes that every people who are successful, unfortunately, when their biographies are written or when their stories are written, there's a lot of emphasis on what they did and how it paid off, how it turned out. But it is that person's life that it turned out that way. You know, it is not necessary that everybody's life will turn out that way. Like for example, there's a lot of things talked about when they talk about Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, that how they dropped out of college and they grew to such big. Every person who drops out of college is not going to become Bill Gates and Steve Jobs. And therefore, your decisions may work, may not work. And what does it do to you when it does not work? And in fact, most people when they are afraid of making this decision, it is because they want to be right. That's why they're taking so much time to practice pathology. So what can help? Take ownership. Think that if I am responsible for my condition, what part of it I am responsible for? What has happened to me? What is the part I am responsible for? And what is it that I can do about it? That is which is about taking ownership. What is it that I can do about it? I will bear it. Even that is taking ownership. Even if I can't heal myself, I have to go through the pain, I'll bear it. But if you take ownership, then the stress will be much lower than if you blame. Because you can keep blaming, nothing is going to change. You can keep feeling dependent, feeling lost, nothing is going to change. What will change is to take ownership. Try to shift I can't to either I can, if you can, or to I would. Make it about I am choosing not to do it. Okay, which means okay, then whatever are the consequences of not doing something or doing something, I'll bear it. I will take it. Take small risks. Do small things. If again the example which I gave, can some men, and now there are many men who I am aware of that, but I'm saying if you're so dependent that you're not cooking or you're not doing that, can you start with small things? Or can women start with small things? Looking at certain things, can they pick up some things and do? Or can you take small decisions and see what happens? Then your confidence in yourself will grow. The more you not take decisions, the more you will ask 100 people for their opinion and then take a decision, the less confident you will feel of yourself. Your own esteem will also go down. So if you start doing it, your esteem will also grow. You will realize that I can do this. I will be able to do this. Do small activities to establish autonomy in yourself, and then take decisions for all your wishes. Whatever you want to do, take a decision. You will fail. You will get a negative experience. Fine, come back, start again. But take decisions for your wishes instead of saying, "Oh, my wishes, I don't know whether they will ever come true, whether somebody else will ever help me." Just take decisions for your own wishes and go ahead and do it. Isolation is a big one, but it is different from loneliness. Loneliness is a feeling that we have because we are not able to connect to somebody. Whereas isolation is a reality where you can't connect to somebody even if you are very close. So the person closest to me, I can tell that person that I am having this pain, this ache, this part is paining. But that person can't know my pain, can't embody my body. That only I will have to do. There are some things in which I am alone, no matter how much others want to support me. And this is true of each and every person. It is not true only of me. So, interpersonal isolation is when you are putting down your own feelings and all that, which is related to loneliness. But this isolation is a true isolation. It is an isolation that at some level I am alone. And how do we deal with this fear? In fact, I would like to ask, how many of us can stay 1 hour only for ourselves? Not thinking about anybody else, not worrying about any phone calls. I'm saying even if you are able to do that, it will lead to a lot of reduction in stress. Can you be comfortable, so comfortable in your skin that you understand that I am different at some level, and not really put those demands on others, on other people understanding or recognizing. But how do we play out isolation? By being accessibility, so that we are all the time doing some action is happening all the time. If nothing is happening, we'll immediately switch on the TV. We'll immediately watch a movie. We'll immediately pick up a phone and talk to somebody. Can you stay 1 hour without doing that? We become possessive about people. We push so much demand over on people that we become very, very possessive. They don't behave in a particular way. It ruins our moods. It puts pressures on us and so on. Some of us become very deficiency motivated, which means if I had nothing to do, I actually feel bad about it instead of feeling good. Saying, oh, now I can do whatever I like. I can sleep, I can go and sit next to a tree, I can do whatever because I have all the time in hand. My immediate thought is, oh my God, I don't have things, I don't have work, I don't have. So that's deficiency motivated. Then we don't try out different things. We try only one thing, where we know this will take so many hours. I'm going to just do this. It's very good. So on. So what that does is it reduces our field of experiences. And I have developed, maybe this is an effect of the sutras and nations and all that, critique of all that, is that we have come into this world to experience life. Can we experience as much as possible rather than restricting ourselves? We get into very need-based love. So we want a particular person. Why do we love somebody? Because this person is like this, because this person is like that, because this person, okay, most of this will also be because this person does this for me and does that for me. Which to a certain level is natural, normal, human. We all have affection needs, we all have attention needs, we all have recognition needs, sure. But when it becomes excessive, it actually impacts our body and our health. And very oblique ways of finding safety. Instead of, so we will say things like, no, at this time, this is not safe. We have never been there at that time, but we are sure that it is not safe. Or we will go in groups every time. You don't want to go alone, you don't want to go and watch movies alone, you don't want to, those kind of things. So very oblique ways of ensuring safety gets develop. So you are not willing to experiment, you are not willing to try out different things, and that actually leads to you feeling even more isolated. Because like I remember long ago there used to be this statement, one and only is none and no two. So it's like, so just having one hobby, just having one person, just having one way of working is actually not good for us. So practice being alone sometime. In fact, I see that interpersonal relationships become better if you can be alone and then you are with somebody because you want to be with that somebody, not because you have to be with that somebody. And with somebody, I don't mean just necessarily a spouse, I mean anybody. Because you are willing to be alone, your relationships actually increase. They all become better. Have some activities only for yourself, which are meant only for you, which only you want to do alone. And assess your personal worth. Are you assessing your personal worth based on others, or are you assessing it on yourself? And one of the findings has been that people who are afraid of isolation have a lot of self-esteem issues. Because if they are left alone, it immediately becomes about, I am not good enough, that is why you are not paying attention to me. I am not good, therefore you are not doing this for me. It immediately translates. And the ability to be alone is a precondition for the ability to love. Because if you are alone, then you can really love without needing. You can really be able to say this person is good because that person is that way, not because of what he or she is doing for. And the last one is meaninglessness. There is this book by Viktor Frankl called Man's Search for Meaning, where he is saying that we are all constantly looking for meaning, and in the concentration camps, prisoners who survived were the ones who were able to give meaning to their suffering. Prisoners who felt that whatever is happening to them is meaningless succumbed faster to that. That's Viktor Frankl. The thing is that there is a very strong need in us to give meaning. For example, why am I doing this talk? Or why something is happening? Okay. Now, we sometimes don't differentiate between meaning and purpose. So I can have a purpose, but it is not that if I don't do the talk, I will have nothing in life. Of course not. But there is a purpose and I find meaning, but I don't hang on to that meaning. Right? Now this is a very simplistic example, something I enjoy doing, so I just but we suffer, right? A lot of things happen which we don't like, or we are suffering. There is no need, there is a very strong need actually for us to give it meaning. This is happening because because I did something, because something happened. But sometimes there is really no meaning to why it happened. Don't we see so many young deaths where we don't know why the person passed away? There is really no reason, no explanation, no meaning. But it happened. Or why somebody fell ill, or why somebody had a particular thing happening to them. There is no meaning. Sometimes even some of the work that we do, there is actually no meaning. We do it because it is required, and we do it and we finish it. It doesn't have a fancy meaning to it. Okay? So when there is no meaning, we feel it is unfair, or it is a failure of some kind, because there is no meaning to the way we live. We then build identities to it, and then we become stuck to those identities. So what happens is in real terms, especially it happens a lot with housewives. Women who stay at home to look after their children. Once their children leave, they grow up, they leave. They may leave for work, they may leave for study. India, maybe previous generation it didn't happen so much, but this generation definitely is happening a lot. Everywhere, everywhere it is happening. What happens to these women is they come under tremendous stress. Because there is now no meaning left. They were cooking different dishes because children loved it. They were doing 100 things because children wanted. Now there is no meaning. So what will they do? it creates a tremendous amount of pressure for them. We set goals in comparison to others without looking at, do I really want that? Do I really
to go through all that?
well, yeah, in fact, I remember there's this serial that is up recently, Fame Game, where the daughter is telling the mother that she also wants to become an actress like her because she also wants fame. So the mother tells her, one, it is not only fame. There are other things that will follow. And second, there are other ways of gaining the same fame.
Same thing, yeah.
There are other areas which you are, so instead of running after fame, can you look at what is it that you would like to do and maybe the fame will follow. That we don't do. And lack of meaning actually leads to depression and helplessness because you don't know why things are happening, why I am suffering. So, but when we know that life is meaningless, life is actually meaningless, there is no meaning to life. We come, we experience whatever experience has been given, and we go, and there is actually no meaning to life. Then you are free to give meaning. You can give whatever meaning you would like to give.
You're not latching on to something.
Yeah, instead of latching on to something or falling prey to something. In fact, one of the things about meaninglessness is this whole thing around weight loss, the entire weight loss industry, without recognizing your body's needs and what your body is comfortable with, looking at a table and following that table. So how do we deal with existential issues? So I recently resaw a movie called Peaceful Warrior, and I found some of its lessons very important. So I was looking at it and I was thinking that, okay, existential issues, there is a broad, besides acknowledging that these are real issues, these are issues that are with all of us, and they are going to be with all of us. We can't do away with them. They will always be there with us. So the first one is paradox, that life is a mystery. It's a paradox that don't try to solve it. It's a mystery. There are certain things which are going to happen which you don't know why they happened. You may deal with it alone, or you will have to deal with it alone. You will be afraid of taking it up, and it might even feel like death. But things happen. Right? Sometimes certain things are not meant to be. Yeah. So there's no point in always making sense of this. So a why question has to be used very carefully. Everywhere the why does not work. The second is keeping your sense of humor, especially for yourself. So you make mistakes. Are you able to laugh at it? Are you okay to make mistakes? Are you okay to appear silly sometimes? Are you okay to do things which are, the more humor you will be able to keep, the more easy it will be to deal with this life. And nothing stays the same. Change is a constant. Nothing at all stays the same. From moment to moment, everything is changing. And we are never sure what we are going to find. So it is the journey. We don't know. Okay, there are theories. I believe in reincarnation. Maybe you don't believe in reincarnation. So we don't know. Nobody knows. Nobody knows how life is going to unfold in the coming days, months, years. Can we enjoy the journey and leave the destination? When we arrive at the destination, we look at the destination also. No problem. This is based on learning from Peaceful Warrior, but I thought it was very relevant to this particular times and this particular topic also, that when I am existing, these realities are going to be there, and therefore I have to explore them. I have to embrace these realities so that I can live a full life. So thank you very much for this, and I thoroughly enjoyed doing this. I hope you also enjoy listening to this. Thank you.
Help Talks are daily health-related talks held at Health Education Library for People, Mumbai, India. For more information visit www.healthlibrary.com. Subscribe to Help Talks channel. Be better informed about your health.